A candi is a Hindu or Buddhist temple in Indonesia, mostly built during the Zaman Hindu-Buddha or Indianized period, between the 7th to 15th centuries. The Great Dictionary of the Indonesian Language of the Language Center defines a candi as an ancient stone building used for worship, or for storing the ashes of cremated Hindu or Buddhist kings and priests. Indonesian archaeologists describe candis as sacred structures of Hindu and Buddhist heritage, used for religious rituals and ceremonies in Indonesia. However, ancient secular structures such as gates, urban ruins, pools and bathing places are often called candi too, while a shrine that specifically serves as a tomb is called a cungkup. In Hindu Balinese architecture, the term candi refers to a stone or brick structure of single-celled shrine with portico, entrance and stairs, topped with pyramidal roof and located within a pura. It is often modeled after East Javanese temples, and functions as a shrine to a certain deity. To the Balinese, a candi is not necessarily ancient, since candis continue to be built within these puras, such as the reconstructed temple in Alasbowo, Banyuwangi. In contemporary Indonesian Buddhist perspective, candi also refers to a shrine, either ancient or new. Several contemporary viharas in Indonesia, for example, contains the actual size replica, a reconstruction of famous Buddhist temples, such as the replica of Pawanan Playozan's Purwara temples. In Buddhism, the role of a candi as a shrine is sometimes interchangeable with a stupa, a domed structure to store Buddhist relics or the ashes of cremated Buddhist priests, patrons or benefactors. Borobudur, Muaratakis and Batu Jaya, for example, are actually elaborate stupas. In modern Indonesian language, the term candi can be translated as temple or similar structure, especially of Hindu and Buddhist faiths. Thus, temples of Cambodia, Kampa, Thailand, Myanmar and India are called as candi too in Indonesian terminology. Candi refers to a structure based on the Indian type of single-celled shrine, with a pyramidal tower above it, and a portico. The term candi is given as a prefix to the many temple mountains in Indonesia, built as a representation of the cosmic man Meru, an epitome of the universe. However, the term also applied to many non-religious structures dated from the same period, such as Gopura, Petiatan and some of habitation complexes. Examples of non-temple candis are the Bajang Ratu and Ring and Luang gates of Majapahit, the Candi Tikus bathing pool in Trowulan and Jalatunda in Penanggungan slopes, as well as the remnants of non-religious habitation and urban structures such as Ratu Boko and some of Trowulan city ruins, are also considered candi. In ancient Java, a temple was probably originally called as Prasada, as evidence in the Manjusrigra inscription that mentioned Prasada Vajrasana Manjusrigra to refer to the SCWU temple. The term prasad itself referred to a sacred offering or a sacrament. This term is in par with Cambodian anti-term prasat, which refer to the towering structure of a temple. Etymology. From Hindu perspective, the term candi itself is believed was derived from Kandika, one of the manifestations of the goddess Urga as the goddess of death. This suggests that in ancient Indonesia the candi had mortuary functions as well as connections with the afterlife. The association of the name Candi, Kandika Durga with Hindu-Buddhist temples is unknown in India and other parts of Southeast Asia outside of Indonesia, such as Cambodia, Thailand, or Burma. Another theory from Buddhist perspective suggested that the term candi might be a localized form of the Pali word sadi, which related to Thai word chedi, which referred to a stupa, or it might be related to the Bodhisattva Candi. Historians suggest that the temples of ancient Java were also used to store the ashes of cremated deceased kings or royalty. This is in line with Buddhist concept of stupas as structures used to store Buddhist relics, including the ashes and remains of holy Buddhist priests of the Buddhist king, patrons of Buddhism. The statue of God stored inside the garbhagriha of the temple is often modeled after the deceased king and considered to be the deified person of the king, portrayed as Vishnu or Shiva according to the concept of Devaraha. The example is the statue of King Airlangga from Belahan Temple, portrayed as Vishnu riding Garuda. Architecture. The Candi architecture follows the typical Hindu architecture traditions based on Vastu Shastra. The temple layout, especially in Central Java period, incorporated mandala temple plan arrangements and also the typical high-towering spires of Hindu temples. The Candi was designed to mimic Meru's, the holy mountain, the abode of gods. The whole temple is a model of Hindu universe according to Hindu cosmology and the layers of loka structure or elements. The Candi structure and layout recognize the hierarchy of the zones, spanned from the less holy to the holiest realms. The Indic tradition of Hindu-Buddhist architecture recognize the concept of arranging elements in three parts or three elements. Subsequently, the design, plan and layout of the temple follows the rule of space allocation within three elements, commonly identified as foot, body, and head. The three zones is arranged according to a sacred hierarchy. Each Hindu and Buddhist concepts has their own terms, but the concept's essentials is identical. Either the compound side plan of the temple structure consists of three zones: Burloka, the lowest realm of common mortals, humans, animals, also demons, where humans still bound by the lust, desire and unholy way of life. The outer courtyard and the foot part of each temples is symbolized the realm of Burloka, Bhuvaloka, the middle realm of holy people, rishis, ascetics, and lesser gods. People here began to see the light of truth. The middle courtyard and the body of each temples is symbolized the realm of Bhuvaloka, Sverloka, the highest and holiest realm of gods, also known as Svargaloka. The inner courtyard and the roof of each temples is symbolized the realm of Sverloka. The roof of Hindu structure usually crowned with Ratna Vajra, or in Eastern Java period, crowned by cube structure, while stupa, a dagoba of cylindrical structure, served as the pinnacle of Buddhist ones. Style. Sukmono, an Indonesian archaeologist, has classified the Candi styles into two main groups: a Central Java style, which predominantly date from before 1000 CE, and an Eastern Java style, which date from after 1000 CE. He groups the temples of Sumatra and Bali into the Eastern Java style. There are material, form, and location exceptions to these general design traits. While the Penataran, Jawi, Yagad, Kidal and Singasari temples, for example, belong to the Eastern Java group, they use andesite stone similar to the Central Java temple material. Temple ruins in Trowulan, such as Brahu, Jabung and Pari temples, use red brick. Also, the Prambanan temple is tall and slender, similar to the East Java style, yet the roof design is Central Javan in style. The location also do not always correlate with the temple styles. For example, Candi Badat is located in Malang, East Java, yet the period and style belongs to older 8th century Central Javanese style. The earlier northern Central Java complexes, such as the Dieng temples, are smaller and contain only several temples which exhibit simpler carving, whereas the later southern complexes, such as Sewu temple, are grander, with a richer elaboration of carving and concentric layout of the temple complex. The Majapahit period saw the revival of Austronesian megalithic design elements, such stepped pyramids. These design cues are seen in the Suku and Setho temples in Mount Lowu in eastern Central Java, and in stepped sanctuary structures on the Mount Penanggungan slopes that are similar to Mesoamerican stepped pyramids. Materials. Most of well-preserved candi in Indonesia are made from andesite stone. This is mainly owed to the stone's durability compared to bricks against tropical weathers and torrential rains. Nevertheless, in certain period, especially Majapahit era, saw the extensive use of red brick as temple and building materials. The materials commonly used in temple construction in Indonesia are: andesite is an extrusive igneous volcanic rock of intermediate composition, with aphanitic to porphyritic texture. The color of this lava rock ranged from light to dark gray. Andesite is especially abundant in the volcanic island of Java. Mined from a certain cliffs, a stone quarry with andesite deposit formed from compressed ancient magma chamber, a cool-down lava spill. Each of andesite stones are custom-made in 2 blocks with interlocking technique to construct temple walls, floors and building. Andesite stones are easily formed and carved with iron chisel, making it of suitable material for temple walls and decorations carved as bas-reliefs. The walls of andesite stone was then carved with exquisite narrative bas-reliefs, which can be observed in many temples, especially in Borobudur and Prambanan. Andesite rocks are also used as the material for carved statues, the images of deities and Buddha. Brick is also used to construct temple. The oldest brick temple structure is Batu Jar Temple Compound in Karawang, West Java, dated from 2nd to 12th century CE. Although brick had been used in the Candi of Indonesia's classical age, it was Majapahit architects of the 14th and 15th centuries who mastered it, making use of a vine sap and palm sugar mortar. The temples had a strong geometric quality. The example of Majapahit temples are Brahu Temple in Trowulan, Pari in Sidoarjo, Jabung in Probolinggo. Temples of Sumatra, such as Bathol Temple, Muaro Jambi, and Muara Takus, are also made from bricks. However, compared to lava andesite stone, clay red bricks are less durable, especially if exposed to hot and humid tropical elements and torrential monsoon rain. As the result, many of red brick structures were crumbling down over centuries, and the reconstruction efforts requires to recast and replace the damaged structure with new block of bricks. Tuff is also a volcanic rock that is also quite abundant near Javanese volcanoes or limestone formations. In Indonesian and Javanese languages, tuff is called batu putih, which corresponds to its light color. The chalky characteristic of this stone, however, has made this stone unsuitable to be carved into bas-reliefs of building ornaments. Compared to andesite, tuff is considered as an inferior quality building material. In Javanese temples, tuff usually are used as stone fillings, forming the inner structure of the temple, while the outer layer employed andesite, that is a more suitable material to be carved. The tuff quarries can be found in SEWU limestone ranges near Ratu Boko Hill. The tuff fillings in the temple can be examined in Ratu Boko Crematorium Temple. Tuff also used as building material of outer walls of temple compound, such as those walls found buried around SEWU and Sambasari Temple. Stucco is materials similar to modern concrete, made from the mixture of sand, stone and water, and sometimes ground clamshell. The stucco as temple building material is observable in Batu Jar Temple Compound in West Java. Plaster called vajralepa is used to coat the temple walls. The white yellowish plaster is made from the mixture of ground limestone, tuff or white earth, with plant substances such as gums or resins as binder. The vajralepa white plaster was applied upon the andesite walls, and then painted with bright colors, serving perhaps as a beacon of Buddhist teaching. The traces of worn-off vajralepa plaster can be observed observed in Borobudur, Sari, Kalasan and SCWU temple walls. Wood is also believed to be used in some of Candi construction, or at least as parts of temple building material. Sari and Plaazan temples, for example, are known to have traces stone indentions to support wooden beams and floors in its second floor, as well as traces of wooden stairs. Ratu Boko compound has building bases and stone umpak column base, which suggests that the wooden capitals once stood there to support wooden roof structure made of organic materials. Traces of holes to install wooden window railings and wooden doors are also observable in many of the Powara temples. Of course, wooden materials are easily decayed in humid tropical climate, leaving no traces after centuries. Motif and decoration. Kala Makara. The candis of ancient Java are notable with the application of Kala Makara as both decorative and symbolic elements of the temple architecture. Kala is the giant symbolizing time. By making Kala's head as temple portal's element, it symbolizes that time consumes everything. Kala is also a protective figure. With fierce giant face, it scares away malevolent spirits. Makara is a mythical sea monster, the Vahana of sea god Varuna. It has been depicted typically as half mammal and half fish. In many temples the depiction is in the form of half fish, a seal with the head of an elephant. It is also shown with head and jaws of a crocodile, an elephant trunk, the tusks and ears of a wild boar, the darting eyes of a monkey, the scales and the flexible body of a fish, and the swirling tailing feathers of a peacock. Both Kala and Makara are applied as the protective figures of the temple's entrance. Kala is the giant head, often takes place on top of the entrance, with Makaras projected on either sides of Kala's head, flanking the portal or projecting on the top corner as antefixes. The Kala Makara theme also can be found on stair railings on either sides. On the upper part of stairs, the mouth of Kala's head projecting Makara downward. The intricate stone carving of twin Makaras flanking the lower level of stairs, with its curved bodies forming the stairs railings. Other than Makaras, Kala's head might also project its tongue as stairs railings. These types of stair decorations can be observed in Borobudur and Prambanan. Makara's trunks are often described as handing gold ornaments or spouting jewels, while in its mouth often projected Gana dwarf figures or animals such as lions or parrots. Linga Yoni. In ancient Javanese Candi, the Linga Yoni symbolism was only found in Hindu temples, more precisely those of Shaiva's faith. Therefore, they are absent in Buddhist temples. The linga is a phallic poster cylinder symbolic of the god Shiva and of creative power. Some lingas are segmented into three parts: a square base symbolic of Brahma, an octagonal middle section symbolic of Vishnu, and a round tip symbolic of Shiva. The lingas that survive from the Javanese classical period are generally made of polished stone of this shape. Lingas are implanted in a flat square base with a hole in it, called a yoni, symbolic of the womb, and also represents Parvati, Shiva's consort. A yoni usually has a kind of spout, usually decorated with naga, to help channel and collects the liquids poured upon linga yoni during Hindu ritual. As a religious symbol, the function of the linga is primarily that of worship and ritual. Oldest remains of linga yoni can be found in Dayang temples from earlier period circa 7th century. Originally each temples might have a complete pair of linga yoni unity. However, most of the times the linga is missing. In the tradition of Javanese kingship, certain lingas were erected as symbols of the king himself or his dynasty, and were housed in royal temples in order to express the king's consubstantiality with Shiva. The example is the linga yoni of Gunung temple. According to Kangal, inscription is connected to King Sanjaya from the Mataram kingdom. In 654 Saka, Other temples that contains complete Linga Yoni include Sambasari and Ijo temples. Eastern Javanese temples that contains Linga Yoni are Panataran and Jawi temple, although the linga is missing. Bas-reliefs. The walls of Candi often displayed bas-reliefs. Either serves as decorative elements as well as to convey religious symbolic meanings, through describing narrative bas-reliefs. The most exquisite of the temple bas-reliefs can be found in Borobudur and Prambanan temples. The first 4 terrace of Borobudur walls are showcases for bas-relief sculptures. These are exquisite, considered to be the most elegant and graceful in the ancient Buddhist world. The Buddhist scriptures describes as bas-reliefs in Borobudur such as Kama Vibhanga, Lalita Vistara, Jataka, Avadana and Gandavyuha, while in Prambanan the Hindu scriptures is described in its bas-relief panels, the Ramayana and Bhagavata Purana. The bas-reliefs in Borobudur depicted many scenes of daily life in 8th century ancient Java, from the courtly palace life, hermit in the forest, to those of commoners in the village. It also depicted temple, marketplace, various flora and fauna, and also native vernacular architecture. People depicted here are the images of king, queen, princes, nobleman, courtier, soldier, servant, commoners, priest and hermit. The reliefs also depicted mythical spiritual beings in Buddhist beliefs such as Asuras, gods, bodhisattvas, canaries, Gandharvas and Apsaras. The images depicted on bas-relief often served as reference for historians to research for certain subjects, such as the study of architecture, weaponry, economy, fashion, and also mode of transportation of 8th century maritime Southeast Asia. One of the famous renderings of an 8th century Southeast Asian double outrigger ship is Borobudur ship. There are significant distinction of bas-relief style and aesthetics between the Central Javanese period and East Javanese period. The earlier Central Javanese style, as observable in Borobudur and Prambanan, are more exquisite and naturalistic in style. The reliefs is projected rather high from the background. The images was done in naturalistic style with proper ideal body proportion. On the other hand, the bas-reliefs of Eastern Javanese style is projected rather flat from the background. The images was done in stiffer pose and stylized style, similar to currently Balinese wayang images. The East Javanese style is currently preserved in Balinese art, style and aesthetics in temple bas-reliefs, also wayang shadow puppet imagery, as well as the Kemasan painting. Deities, Kalpataru and Kanaras. The images of coupled Kanara and Kanari can be found in Borobudur, Mendat, Parwan, Sewu, Sari, and Prambanan temples. Usually, they are depicted as birds with human heads, or humans with lower limbs of birds. The pair of Kanara and Kanari usually is depicted guarding Kalpataru, the tree of life, and sometimes guarding a jar of treasure. There are bas-relief in Borobudur depicting the story of the famous Kanari, Manohara. The lower outer wall of Prambanan temples were adorned with row of small niche containing image of Simha flanked by 2 panels depicting bountiful Kalpataru tree. These wish-fulfilling sacred trees, according to Hindu-Buddhist beliefs, is flanked on either side by Kanaras or animals, such as pairs of birds, deer, sheep, monkeys, horses, elephants, etc. The pattern of lion and niche flanked by Kalpataru trees is typical in Prambanan temple compound. Thus it is called as Prambanan panel. Bodhisattva and Tara in Buddhist temples. The panels of bas-reliefs usually adorned with exquisite images of male figure of bodhisattvas and female figure of Taras, along with Gandharvas, heavenly musicians, and sometimes sometimes the flock of Gana dwarfs. These are the deities and divinities in Buddhist beliefs, which resides in the Tushita heaven in Buddhism cosmology. The notable images of bodhisattvas could be found adorning outer walls of Plazan, Sari, Kalesan, Pawan and of course Borobudur temple. Devata and Apsara in Hindu temples. The celestial couple, male devatas and female apsaras, are usually found adorns the panels of temples' walls. They are the Hindu counterpart of Buddhist bodhisattvatara, celestial beings. On the other side of narrative panels in Prambanan, the temple wall along the gallery were adorned with the statues and reliefs of devatas and Brahmin sages. The figure of Lokapalas, the celestial guardians of directions, can be found in Shiva temple. The Brahmin sage editors of Veda were carved on Brahma temple wall, while in Vishnu temple the figures of a male deity is devatas flanked by two apsaras. The depiction of celestial beings of lesser gods and goddesses, devatas and apsaras, describes the Hindu concept of sacred realm of Svargaloka. This corresponds to the concept of the towering Hindu temple as the epitome of Mount Meru in Hindu cosmology. Guardians Varapala. Most of larger temple compound in ancient Java were guarded by a pair of Varapala statues as gate guardians. The twin giants usually placed flanked the entrance in front of the temple, or in 4 cardinal points. Varapala took form of 2 fierce giants or demons that ward off evil and malevolent spirits from entering the sacred temple compounds. In central Javanese art, Varapala is mostly portrayed as a stout and rather chubby giant, with fierce face of glaring round goggle eyes, protruding fangs, curly hairs and moustaches, with fat and round belly. The giant usually depicted as holding gada and sometimes knives as weapon. In East Javanese art and Balinese version, however, the Varapala usually depicted rather slender, with the exception of gigantic Varapala of Singasari near Malang, East Java, that measures 3.7 meters tall. The most notable Varapala statues are those of Candi, each pair guarding 4 cardinal points of the Grand Temple complex, making them a total 8 large Varapala statues in perfect condition. The Varapalas of Sewu temple has become the prototype of Gapolo guardian in later Javanese art, copied as guardians in Javanese keratins of Yogyakarta and Surakarta. Another fine example is 2 pairs of Varapala guarding the twin temples of Plazan. Lion. The statues of a pair of lion flank the portal are often placed as the guardians in Candi entrance. Lions were never native animals of Southeast Asia in recorded history. As the result, the depiction of lion in ancient Southeast Asian art, especially in ancient Java and Cambodia, is far from naturalistic style as depicted in Greek or Persian art counterparts, since and all based on perception and imagination. The cultural depictions and the reverence of lion as the noble and powerful beast in Southeast Asia was influenced by Indian culture, especially through Buddhist symbolism. Statue of a pair of lions often found in temples in Southeast Asia as the gate guardian. In Borobudur Buddhist monument, Central Java, Indonesia, Andesite stone statues of lions guarding 4 main entrances of Borobudur. The thrones of Buddha and Bodhisattva found in Kalesan and Mendat Buddhist temples of ancient Java depicted elephant, lion, and Makara. The statue of winged lion also found in Penataran Temple, East Java. Stupa and Ratna pinnacles. The religions dedicated in the temples of ancient Java can be easily distinguished mainly from its pinnacles on top of the Roof. Bell-shaped stupa can be found on the Buddhist temple's roof, while ratna, the pinnacle ornaments, symbolize gem, mostly found in Hindu temples. The typical stupas in Javanese classical temple architecture is best described as those of Borobudur style, the bell-shaped stupa. The stupa in Borobudur upper round terrace of Arapadatu consist of round lotus pedestal, gently sloped bell-shaped dome. Rectangular shape on top of the dome serves as the base of hexagonal pinnacle. Each stupa is pierced by numerous decorative openings, either in the shape of rectangular or rhombus. Statues of the Buddha sit inside the pierced stupa enclosures. Borobudur was first thought more likely to have served as a stupa instead of a temple. A stupa is intended as a shrine for the Buddha. Sometimes stupas were built only as devotional symbols of Buddhism. A temple, on the other hand, is used as a house of worship. Ratna pinnacle took form of a curved obtuse pyramidal shape, sometimes cylindrical, completed with several base structure. Pedestals took form as some ornamental seams. It can be found as the pinnacle of both Hindu and Buddhist temples. Nevertheless, it is most prevalent in Hindu temples. The example of temple with Ratna pinnacle is Sambasari in Ijo temple. In Prambanan, the stylized Vajra replaced Ratna as the temple's pinnacles. In later periods, the false Linga Yoni, or cube, can be found in Hindu temples' roof, while cylindrical dagoba on top of Buddhist counterparts.